Today I am here with Roxanne McCarty O'Kane, who is one of my clients, but also a really fierce feminine founder of a business that I really want to share with you about how she's created this amazing business, what she does for people to have more impact in their world and their business, and really to give some tips on how you too can create a business like what Roxy's done, one that is really from a feminine space, a space of owning her worth and going on a journey to own her worth, and how that's impacted her life and her business in all ways. So first of all, welcome, Roxy.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me on, Genine. It's very exciting.
Now, Roxy and I know each other quite well because we have recently just come back from 8 days in Bali together on a retreat. So we're being very formal today, but know that we've seen each other in our pajamas.
Yeah, totally.
Real.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're going to talk about that retreat as well and what's sort of some of the aha moments you had from that as well, to be an example to other women of what it really takes to get to where you are. So to start off with, Roxy, I'd love for you, if you could just give the audience just an overview of who you are and what you do now in the world.
Yeah, sure. So I'm a professional ghostwriter of non-fiction books. So what I do is I connect with my clients and create a bespoke, really powerful book that they can use to escalate their profile and their business to the next level. So I've been a journalist for the past 13 years. So my skill set's very heavily in interviewing, you know, asking the questions, getting to know people, and particularly their why and what it is that drives them. And that's always been a passion for me. And to be able to channel that now into creating books for people that, you know, can provide a foundation for their business and help them in a lot of other areas of their life is what I'm really passionate about now. So that's the core thing that I do. I also mentor aspiring writers, so people who want to write their own books. So I provide a mentorship for them and help them, you know, that it's their desire to write it themselves, but they do need that guidance. So I have that program running as well. And I'm also a presenter of the Phoenix Phenomenon online series. So yeah, which is, again, another excuse for me to chat to some incredible people and to share their journeys and their messages with the world. So yeah, very busy.
Very busy, but you're also making a really big impact in the business that you've created for people. So tell us a little bit more about, you know, why it's important for people to have a book written. And then I want to ask you why many people don't actually get around to writing their own books, and hence why you're doing what you do.
Yeah, perfect. So why it's important? I feel like every one of us has been on a very unique journey in life. You know, some of us have had some incredible highs, others have had some incredible lows, and some of us have been on, you know, the most incredible roller coaster rides that you can't even make up as a fiction book, right? And these are people's lives. And I think, you know, there is the saying that everyone has a book in them, and I truly believe that. There's something unique about every one of us. And I think being able to craft a book and put that out there and share that with the world, I think it's an incredible way for people to, you know, perhaps even, you know, inspire and educate are my two favorite words. You know, you can inspire people to live greater lives, to achieve their dreams, all that sort of thing, but also to educate as well. Like if you've been to the lowest of lows and you've had to spend 5-10 years clawing your way back up to the surface, imagine if sharing your journey prevented someone else from taking that long to recover and to go on to live their best lives. So that's why I think it's so important. And books these days are not so much about, you know, they're not just to educate these days. What I love about the self-help genre is that it has evolved so much. It's not just do this, don't do that. It's very much about the authors being vulnerable, really sharing every aspect of their journey. And there is quite an amazing blend of memoir, self-help out these days, which is having such an incredible impact on readers and enacting change in the world, which is really beautiful. So
yeah, it's a really powerful way to get your brand known and for people to have a real deeper understanding of you, especially if you're a business person.
mm-hmm.
It's a way of people connecting with you, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's the three things. It's the know you, like you, trust you. So by going on that journey with you, like readers are hopping into your book, they're building that connection with you, like a true connection, not just a client, business operator connection. They're feeling the highs and the lows with you. And as they come through that, their trust in you will grow, and they'd be absolutely more inclined to then enlist your products, buy your products, or enlist your services to continue that journey with you. So it definitely is a whole other level of connecting with potential clients.
And to go back to a question I just asked you before, there is a lot of people who have a book in them. There's a lot of people who say they're eventually going to do a book. Why is it that many people just don't get round to doing it?
So there's quite a few things actually that I've found. When I first ventured into this realm, I thought it was literally time and money. And they are big factors. A lot of people that do want to take their profile and their business to the next level are already incredibly time poor. You're juggling multiple balls and forever trying to create new arms of their businesses. So a book project can often fall to the bottom of the pile. So it's a time thing for them. But what I've also found is it is quite largely connected with mindset. A lot of the people with the most incredible stories don't actually believe that their story has the impact or will have the impact that it will have. For them, it's just their lived experience and it is what it is. But for others, it could be the key to completely changing their lives. So, yeah.
And an interesting example of that is when we were actually on our retreat in Bali, and one of the other women, the other clients, shared her journey, and we all sat there completely enthralled, didn't we?
Absolutely, like mouth open. Oh, yeah.
And her response was, "Oh, really? Is that interesting?"
Absolutely. Yeah. And it happens all the time. And even I find with clients that I get on board and that I work with, we are on the process of writing their book already, which is amazing. They're on board and we're going for it. And they'll often, just gloss over something, state it quite matter of factly. And I'm like having a heart palpitation, like, that is incredible. Tell me more about that. And for them, it's just, they don't, I guess perhaps because they've lived it, they don't see the significance in it as much. So being able to, I guess, even shine a spotlight on that for people and get them to realize their greatness and what it is that they've actually achieved is probably one of the most fulfilling things about my job. I love it. So
yeah. And so for you then, being a ghostwriter, I'll ask you the question, is there much work available in that field? Because wouldn't it be that most people just want to write their own book in their own words?
Yeah, absolutely. So as a ghostwriter, I do actually, I fly under the radar. As far as, all the clients that I've worked with, it is their name on the book cover. So essentially they are the author. I'm just taking their IP and crafting it in a beautiful and powerful way for them. And there is a lot of work available for ghostwriters. I am booked up till February 2020 at the moment, and had another client call earlier today to potentially fill that spot, to fill me up for another little bit. So it is my goal absolutely to show other writers the true potential of what's available to them if they channel their skill sets into this kind of area. And it's definitely a much needed field, that's for sure.
Incredible. And so we'll touch on that a little bit more as we go, but I want to stay on the topic of having a book ghostwritten. Tell me, say I wanted to write a book and I haven't got around to it for the last few years. What is it that the ghostwriting process would do for me?
Yeah, absolutely. So having a ghostwriter on board means that you kind of all of the heavy lifting of actually writing a book is being passed on to someone like myself. So it can really make the whole book creation process a lot of fun, because all you have to do is share your story with a ghostwriter, and then they take it all of that information away and craft it into a manuscript for you. So there's people that the very idea of sitting down behind a keyboard and having to write out 50,000 words just gives them a cold sweat. It takes that whole element away, and any pressure as well. People do worry about crafting sentences and will it flow and where do I start, where do I end? Like all of that pressure is taken off, and it's just about sharing your story in a really comfortable environment, and then you end up with a book at the end of it. So it's a pretty sweet deal.
Yeah, well, because I can imagine that a lot of people's barrier to writing a book would actually also include, I'm not a writer. I don't know how to write a book. How do you structure a book? All of that. And I do actually see, there's a lot of programs out there where it's, the write a book this weekend, or
Yeah.
an online DIY course for how to write a book. What makes the process so different with what you do in ghostwriting to, say, going away for a weekend and writing it yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not a big believer on putting time pressures on things. So, when people say, oh, I'm going away to write a book in a weekend, I kind of cringe a little bit, mainly because it's kind of a forced process then. Like you're on a really strict deadline, you're under pressure, you're not going to get the very best version of your message out in that short of a time frame. So for me, it's all about the journey, and people who do take, there are some people who embark on writing their own books and take years, and it absolutely is a journey. But for, having a ghostwriter on board, you've got someone that's keeping you in a smaller time frame. It's all getting done, and it's getting done thoroughly. Like having someone to chat to on an interview basis means that when areas are glossed over, you can pull your person back, your client back, and say, no, we need to delve deeper into that. There's a really strong message here. Tell me more about that. And having the conversational element too is a lot more relaxing. People relax into it. They get to know you. Like some of my clients are, we've got some really great friendships now because we've built such an incredible bond throughout the book writing process. And it really is a journey. There's tears, there's laughter, there's revelations. It's really incredible. So yeah.
Amazing. And they say that, the process of writing is very cathartic, but I can imagine the process of being interviewed by an expert like yourself who's been interviewing celebrities since, 13 or so years ago.
Yeah.
That would be quite different for most people, wouldn't it? To be actually to have that expertise draw out of them things that they may not have ever actually said to anyone before.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do joke that, I've kind of missed my calling as a counsellor because there have been, quite a few instances where, we're halfway down the road of creating this book, and all of a sudden this thought just drops into this person, or I've asked them a question, which has helped them to reframe a situation in a way that they hadn't considered before. And all of a sudden, like, these answers appear, like, oh, that's why I've been feeling this way, or that's why that person did that. And it's really amazing to see it happen. Yeah.
Beautiful. So it's never just about the process of writing a book, is it?
No, it's about so much more than that, actually. Yeah, it really is a journey. And I mean, to have that at the end, to have a beautifully crafted book at the end that you can then share with the world, it's kind of just the icing on the cake, really. So
Yeah. So what sort of people do you ghostwrite for? Like, are they business people? Are they, triumph to tragedy or tragedy to triumph stories? Who are the sort of people that you write for?
yeah, sure. So predominantly at the moment, I have been getting that beautiful mix of memoir and self-help books. So entrepreneurs who have had incredibly personal, incredible personal journeys that have led them to found their businesses. So it's not just, you know, they're not money making entrepreneurs. They're, I guess, so I wouldn't say social enterprises, but that lovely mix where, you know, they have that real human element and that desire to serve. These are the kinds of people that I seem to be attracting, and they're kind of, you know, they're right up my alley. So yeah, and as far as profile boosting clients, I have had quite a few come to me recently. Actually, seems to be a new energy that I'm putting out there. And again, though, it's not just about look at me, look at me. They have traveled some really deep, dark roads and learned so many beautiful lessons that they can share. So it's still along a similar vein. So yeah, it's been really incredible.
Yeah, very fulfilling, I'm sure.
Yes, definitely.
And so for you then, with some of the clients that you've worked with, what can you give us some examples of what's happened for them, say in their business or their personal life, since having the book? Because you know, we've heard the stories of, you know, people self-publishing a book or having it published, but having them all sitting in the garage. You know,
Yeah.
what are some of the results that people have achieved since working with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So the clients, I've been fortunate actually. The clients who I attract are real go-getters. So you hear about the people that self-publish and they have garages full of books, are perhaps people that were not quite driven with their message. They haven't nailed their why. So I find that as soon as I connect with someone, we've got to nail that simple three-letter word. And once you nail that, they're like the motivation is there. They know exactly what they're doing, why they're doing it. And when you've got all that lined up, you know, they absolutely want to get it out there to as many people as they can to enact change. So yeah, it's been really incredible to see, you know, the motivation for them, not only to sell books, but having the word author in their list of credentials. You know, that's opening up public speaking opportunities. It's opening up keynote speaking opportunities. It's getting their profile out there in the media a lot more. So it's really a well-rounded approach. So yeah, it gives them, you know, if you can say I'm an author, then people will come to your workshops. People will, you know, will pick up the book and read it and then sign on for your coaching services or whatever it is that you're offering. So yeah, it helps them on so many levels.
Absolutely. And look, you know, to be honest, as a published author myself, it launched my coaching career.
Yeah, see, there you go. So
We, you know, my business partner and I at the time, we launched our book, had a 6-month speaking tour, much of it paid, and we were able to easily sell books, easily. You know, we had lines of people at every event, you know, signing books, etc. And we actually then were able to make, you know, at least 6 figures in that year just from, you know, services on selling from that book.
absolutely. Yeah, no, that's great. I do worry about people who think that they're going to make their millions from selling books alone. It's absolutely a holistic approach. So yes, books will make up a component of your, you know, future passive income, but it's what you can build around that you can really capitalize on. That's where the real money is. So yeah.
Perfect. So for you then, Roxy, you know, I want to go back to, you know, you've been a journalist for 13 years working in media, and, you know, we've both been in media for a very long time together. We've both seen firsthand what that industry can be like in terms of pay and that kind of thing. Tell us a little bit about where you were for a long time in your career, but then since starting your ghostwriting business, what's changed for you?
Yeah, so I guess, having started jumping into journalism straight out of high school, or out of uni, sorry, I did do a degree. Jumping straight out of uni, I was just kind of always in the 9 to 5, you know, the daily grind kind of thing. And as you know, being in the media, particularly in, you know, magazines and print publications, you're quite heavy, cranking out quite a lot of content in every day, like day in, day out. There was always time pressures, and it can really build up after, well, a good 12 years or so. So yeah, and for me, I think career-wise, I didn't really know what else was available for me outside of that, because I think that's just all I ever knew with work-wise. And journalism jobs are getting scarcer and scarcer as time goes on. You know, there's always downsizing happening, publications changing tack and all that kind of stuff. So we just kind of felt like I needed to stay where I was for security. It was for security. So it wasn't until I think maybe a year or two after I had my second child. So I had been going back part-time, wasn't working full-time anymore, that I didn't kind of feel like I was aligned anymore with what I was doing. It didn't come as easily as it used to. And I knew that there was a rub there and that I needed to find something different, but I had no idea what it was. So I kind of spent another few years, actually, shamefully, in that grey area, simply because I didn't know what action it was that I needed to take. So yeah. And then it wasn't until I went to Shine Businesswomen's Conference here on the Sunshine Coast that I got introduced to all these incredible businesswomen, and Genine, yourself being one of them. And yeah, it was simply just having a chat with someone who could flick on a few other switches that I hadn't even known were there on my wall yet. That's led me to where I am today. So
yeah, and it's interesting too, because it's a complete 180 from what you were doing before. Like, it's still doing writing, but the way that the business model is structured is completely different, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. So I love that I've got longer time frames to work with a particular client. I can really dedicate that time to getting to know them and to giving justice to their story. I can work with multiple clients in different stages, which is great. So I've got a client at the moment who's partway through the second edit of his manuscript. I've got one that's just going off for review. I've got one that's just finished being written. So to have those beautiful stages means that I'm not under constant state of stress like I was with the print deadlines in my former career. And yeah, it's been really incredible. Just having the ability to craft how I would like things to unfold has been an amazing journey for me as a business person. Yeah.
And crafting that isn't just in your business, is it?
No, and this was one of the biggest lessons that I've learned. I think when I first was linked up to the mastermind, what's it called? The Academy. Before. Yeah. Yes. When I first walked into that beautiful group of women, I was looking for strategy. That's all I wanted. How do I build a business? What do I need to do? Give me steps 1, 2, 3. Off I go. I'll do it. But I quickly learned it wasn't about that at all, because you can have the very best business strategy in the whole entire world, but if your mind's not where it needs to be, none of it's going to happen. So that's absolutely been one of the biggest learning curves for me as a business person, is that it's so much more about what's going on in your mind than it is about what you're actually doing. And if they're aligned, then you've got the perfect balance. And it's a journey that I'm always on, but it's one that I'm openly walking down now, which is incredible.
Yeah. And tell us then, what were let's start with the business side of things first.
Mm-hmm.
What were some of the big changes that you made in your business career that have got you to where you are now? And I want to really quantify, where you are now, because sometimes people, they have no idea what that actually means. So can you give us
of course. So there was a step between my job at the newspaper and my job and starting ghostwriting, and that was I was freelance writing. So it was kind of like my first foray into owning myself and all that sort of thing. But I was still kind of stuck in that old mindset. So I was working for about 5 or 6 different clients on a regular basis. And if we're going to talk dollar figures, I was busting my butt for a whole year. And when I got my tax return, I found out that I'd made $40,000. And the cost for me personally in doing that was that I was working every night. I had my two small children here at home, at school and at home. That I was, I was kind of put the TV on, go to the office because this client has a deadline and I need to get this done like right now. So I was very much on other people's clocks and not on my own. So I felt excited because, I had, oh, look at all these clients that I've got. But because I still wasn't valuing myself, I was undercharging, and I felt I had to compete. When I would put out a price and people would go, oh no, well, I can get someone over here to do it for half that, then I felt like I needed to undercut myself to get the work. So the quantity was more important than the quality for me at that stage. That's just where my mind was. Yeah. So, yeah.
So you said before that it's not necessarily the business strategy, it's the mindset that it takes to get over to the other side. So, what was the catalyst for you to go from freelancing, with lots of different clients and still working loads of hours and time for money? How did you move over to the other side to what you're doing now?
Yeah, sure. So that was probably one of the biggest challenges for me when I first started with business coaching, was valuing myself. Seems pretty simple, but it was one of the biggest challenges for me. And I remember in our first session together, you kind of wrote a figure down and said, you need to be charging this. And I was like, whatever. So I was like, that's how far gone I was. I had, I'm like, who would pay me like that much to do that job? But yeah, I mean, the more I went into it and literally just let myself feel into being that person, actually understand how much I was giving to the client and how much work was going into it, even if it wasn't by an hour rate kind of thing. And I guess the real change for me, or the way that it was cemented, was when I actually got my first client. So it was putting myself into that really uncomfortable space for a time, I'm not going to lie. And as soon as I got that yes, it was just like, like this whole weight was off. And, that became my new normal. So it's only gone up from there, which has been incredible. Yeah.
And just to without going to full details, but to quantify it for people listening and watching, we're not talking hundreds of dollars.
No, yeah. We're talking like I would spend a few hours writing an article for about $100 to charging let's just put it out there, $10,000 was my starting rate. And to get a yes on that was life-changing for me, and it just opened my eyes to the possibilities of where I could go if I just owned what I do and owned my worth. So yeah.
And now you get to work with incredible clients that have amazing stories, that value your worth and your expertise, and you're becoming really close to those clients and really having an enriching career. What about personal life for you? What are some of the changes there?
Yeah, so personally, it's been amazing in the last few years, actually, the journey that I've been on. So when I was in that freelancing stage, I think I've kind of touched on it a bit before, but work was number one, and that's never been in alignment with who I wanted to be. So it meant that, my quality time with my kids was being restricted. It meant that I was always I just felt like I was always under the pump. So that constant state of, oh, go. And I didn't have any time to relax. Little things like my husband leaving his socks on the floor would send me into a craze, just totally not even necessary. But that was just the level of emotion that I was operating on, and it wasn't healthy on any level. So to then, you know, I think the first time I did a meditation, you know, I have been learning a lot more about, you know, spirituality and connectedness and all that sort of stuff, which I honestly would have poo-pooed a few years ago. But the first time I sat down for a meditation, which is something I'd never done because I literally didn't have the time for it, right? It wasn't like work was here. The first time I sat down for a meditation, I think it was only a short one, maybe 3 to 5 minutes. And I was bawling my eyes out by the end of it because I was like, I have never done that. So, yeah. And it just, I know, just the power of sitting and being for a few minutes, of not worrying about what's next, like not worrying about what I should have done 5 minutes ago, was just, the space was amazing. And to continue learning these kinds of things, because this was all new for me, continuing to learn about, you know, the meditations, the affirmations. My inner voice has been my worst enemy. Like, I am my own worst self-critic, and working on that has been, you know, life-changing as well, to, you know, get that positivity back in there, and how much it changes when you when you really embody it. So yeah.
And who would have thought 12 months ago that you would just come off the back of an 8-day retreat in Bali, where you purified yourself in the holy waters, saw a 98-year-old shaman.
Yeah, I know.
Incredible experiences, and stayed in luxury villas and had staff wait hand on foot with you.
Yeah.
You know, could you have back then?
No, I absolutely wouldn't. Actually, on any level, like the fact that I even got on a plane and by myself, went on a holiday. Well, not by myself, but with a beautiful group of women who, you know, we've all bonded really beautifully. But without my husband and kids, like, I never would have, I guess, even prioritized that before. I was at the bottom of the pile kind of thing, and to be able to invest the time and money and space in creating that for myself is, yeah, it's just been really beautiful. And yeah, my husband did have a chuckle when I said we went to the shaman and I got a palm reading and all sorts of stuff. But you know what? I've opened myself up to it, and it's just beautiful. Like, I had such a moving and transformational experience over there because of that. Yeah.
It's pretty crazy where we're at now, isn't it? You know, interviewing you now, Roxy, is, you know, you sit in front of me as a really powerful businesswoman who, you know, you look stunning. You've got such a great mindset, and, you know, you're really moving forward in your personal life and your business life at great speeds, like at quantum leaps now, you know. And so what I'll say to people who are watching, and, you know, they might say, oh, it's okay for her. Roxy's story is everyone's story.
Yeah.
And she just got to a point in her business and life that she decided that was not enough. And to see you now, you know, you'll be earning the multiple 6 figures in the next 12 months. You already did 6 figures, I think, in your first year of business. And, you know, going up and up from there. Like, every conversation we have is about, how do I scale? How do I scale? And building a team under you now, launching a whole new arm of your business, you know, is really testament to you totally embracing the investment that it takes to get there. Totally embracing, not just from a financial perspective, but your involvement and self-responsibility. So, you know, I really commend you and honor you for that.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been really awesome. And it's been incredible too, like, to even just hear from friends that I haven't seen for a while. They're like, oh, just watching you on Facebook and I can't believe all the stuff you're doing. And, you know, it lifts them up as well, which has been really, really fulfilling for me. Like, I've got friends that are now looking at starting their own businesses that have also been in that grey area for a few years. And yeah, just the ripple effect is incredible. Yeah.
Great. And, you know, that's why I'm doing this interview with you today, because I want it to be the ripple effect for other women or men listening to this, that they go, well, there is actually a different way of doing business. There is a different way of living, and it's often beyond our comprehension. But when someone who's done it before can show you, well, hang on, there's actually a different way. And if you go, me first, then family, and then your business, everything changes, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, even just recently, the latest school holidays, like the fact that I could down tools, not even set foot in the office for that whole time and spend that 2 weeks with my kids was something I never would have imagined being able to do before. So yeah, it has been, oh, my relationship with my husband so much better. So not yelling at him over socks, you know. So yeah. I mean, yeah, it's such a holistic change. It's been incredible. If someone told me, you know, a few years ago that I would be at this stage, I wouldn't have believed them. So yeah, it's all about, yeah, the openness, like your willingness to take on any information that you get, any new experiences, embrace any new experiences. I went and visited a shaman when I didn't even really know what a shaman was. So yeah. You know, just, yeah, being open to everything and really just embracing it and finding your passion too. I think that's really important. And I think that's what you're really good at, is aligning people with their passions. So yeah, I think that's when you've got that all in the bag, then you'll, the only way is up, really.
Yeah, beautiful. So what's next for you?
All right. So I've got another writers group coming up. So I'll be finishing up with my current group in the middle of October. So that's very exciting. I'm looking for some new aspiring writers who just need a bit of guidance to get their books out into the world.
And we'll make sure we link to that, Rox. We'll make sure we put a link to anyone who's interested in that.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you. And yeah, I'm just lining up my next lot of interviewees for the Phoenix Phenomenon for my third season. So that will be coming out towards the end of the year. And yeah, looking at, you know, inspiration struck while I was in Bali, that I'm doing all this incredible work writing for people and showing people how to write, but that I also need to step up and now teach writers how to do what I've done. So to kind of shine the light for them that it is possible, that you can create this amazing business for yourself and, you know, a whole new lifestyle that you wouldn't get from working for 5 or 6 clients for a pittance. So yeah. I'm just, yeah, it lights me up to think that I could empower other people to do the same thing. So yeah.
Yeah, awesome. And just one last quick thing to also make mention that you were a finalist in the Businesswomen's Awards here.
It's funny how I still forget about that. Yes, no, it was the Sunshine Coast Business Women's Network. Yes, I was a finalist in the Young Businesswoman of the Year earlier this year, which was an amazing experience. So I usually do try and fly under the radar a bit, but a friend nominated me for it. So I thought I'll just jump in boots and all, and to become a finalist at my first attempt was truly humbling, and to see the caliber of the women on the stage that night was just so inspirational. So be looking to go back for another shot next year for sure. And I have also received a nomination for my business awards, which is a national level awards in young business leader and professional services. So they're still kind of processing all of that, but yes, hopefully later this month we'll have some good news and be off to Sydney. So we'll see.
Just incredible. And you know, thanks so much for sharing your story today, Roxy, for other people to know that there's always a different way of doing things. There's always a new way, and something that's often more abundant, more joyful, and more satisfying than you could have ever imagined. So thanks for sharing today.
Yeah, no, thank you for the opportunity. I hope it really helps someone to find their feet and start to take action themselves. So thank you.
Beautiful. All right. Thanks so much, Rox.
Okay, thanks. Bye.